Hey, welcome to the video guide for part two. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do your research logs. This is a very important step because for your project, you will need to find at least 3 good sources that you can use as evidence for your final project. And this is going to be where you, I think, collect all of the information you found. So let's, I think, just walk through the steps. So for each research log, you're going to find a quality source about your topic and then fill out the chart below. So this source could be an article, it could be a website, it could be a video, it could even be an interview with a parent or a friend. It could be, I think, any source that you think is going to give you good information about your topic. In my case, I actually did a little bit of homework and I found an article on PBS, which is pretty helpful for my topic, which is fashion. So I'm going to begin by filling out the info over here. So the title obviously is at the very top. It is Tailoring a Sustainable Future for Fashion. Tongue twister there. But I'm going to copy that in the title. The author is usually at the top over here. It's by PBH Neusauer. But if you don't find it, I think you can always just do a Control F. See if I think you find by, and usually it'll pop up. It's over here, I think, for me, but I think usually that helps. So I'm going to copy that right over here. I will say normally it's normal to have the name of a person, but sometimes I think an article is done by a team. In this case, it was done by the PBS Neusauer team. So I'm just going to use, I think, their team name over here. But normally there should be, I think, a name. The URL is just the link, so just copy the link right over here. Got that. And then this is kind of the tricky part. You have to put together all of this information in one citation. This is going to be used in your works cited list. So I'm going to begin with last name, first name, or name of website. In my case, there's no, I think, last name, first name, because there's no, I think, individual author. So I'm going to use, I think, the name of the website, which is PBS Neusauer. Title of the article is right over here. Gonna pop that in. Typo there. Oops, it's PBS Neusauer. The title of the publication is normally at the very top. It is PBS in my case, so PBS. Great source. It was published on September 8th, 2019. So I'm just going to copy that in. And lastly, I have the link over here. And there you have it. That is my citation. That part seems, I think, really hard if you, I think, look at it. But if you have all the parts, I think you're putting all of it together, and that is your citation. So now I can move on to step 1, which is just to, I think, check for credibility, right? I think you want to make sure that your article or your source is actually reliable. So how do you find the source, and how do you know you can trust it? Push yourself to use at least one word in your answer. Currency, relevance, authority, or purpose. And remember, those are words we learned, I think, about how to tell apart, I think, crap from legit information, right? So try to use those words to explain yourself. I would say I found the source by, I think, just Googling, I think, by topic, fashion, environmental impact. And this is one of the first things that popped up. I do know I can trust it because of its currency. I think this article, I think, is from 2019, which is only 2 years ago. I'd also say it has a clear purpose. It is an interview with an expert. So it has the goal of informing, I think, its audience. And again, I think that is also a good sign, I think, that your article is legit. So that is, I think, part 1. I know I can trust my article. I'm going to move on to part 2. So this is, I think, where you skim the source and think about, I think, the general idea of it. So in general, what does it focus on? And what information here could be useful to you, right? Does it include, I think, some personal stories? Does it include some, I think, really cool opinions from experts? Does it have any cool, I think, numbers or facts or statistics? In my case, this is an interview with the author of a book called Fashionopolis. Her name is Dana Thomas. And I think so in my case, I think this interview definitely focuses a lot more on her opinions. So I would say in general, this sort of focuses on, I think, the opinions of the person being interviewed. I think she is the author of a book about fashion. And I'd say something useful in this source is, I think, the fact that this person is an expert on the fashion industry. Her personal opinions, I think, could be useful to me, I think, in my project. So I'm gonna probably, I think, like focus on looking for those as I read. So that's step 2. I think just get a general idea of the article and think about what things could be helpful to you. The last step is step 3. And this should be, I think, hopefully familiar at this point. But basically, you're going to carefully read the source and find key quotes. You're going to copy at least 2 key quotes you find interesting or important on the left. Don't forget to have citation by writing the author's last name at the end. And lastly, capture your thoughts on each quote on the right. I kind of cheated and I already have my 2 quotes because I read the article last night, but I did forget my citations. So I'm going to put PBS NewsHour for both of those. Normally it would be the author's last name, but I think there's no last name in my case. So the first quote I chose is, I think, this fact: the average garment is worn 7 times before it's thrown away. And in China, I heard it was 3 times. That's kind of crazy that we have this sort of careless, cavalier way of using clothes and wearing and burning through clothes. So personally, I would say this number stood out to me because we know that I think a lot of time and energy goes into making just one piece of clothing. It takes a lot of, I think, like fabric, a lot of labor, and a lot of resources, right? So a big part of the problem is that I would say a big part of the problem maybe is that I think we treat clothes as disposable, even though I think that just makes the environmental impact worse. So I think this is kind of, I think, a good example of, I think, like why a lot of clothes end up in, I think, trash, end up in landfills, end up contributing to, I think, pollution and environmental, I think, harm. I also found this quote, I think, about the science. So there are companies that are doing more to, I think, address the issue. So this quote is, I think, about a company called Modern Meadow that is growing leather in labs. So they're coding the DNA, and it's called biofabricated material, but it looks and feels like leather. And so this quote, I think, is kind of different, but this quote, I think, does show, I think, the progress that science is making in, I think, making in sort of, I think, changing fashion to be more eco-friendly. So I think materials, I think, like leather often waste a lot of water and resources when they're being made. So having, I think, having an alternative that isn't as, I think, difficult to make, I think, can help, I think, the environment, I think, in the future. So I have my 2 quotes and I have my, I think, thoughts on each one. And there you have it. I've, I think, found my article. I've read it and I filled out all the info that I need to use this in my final project. I have, I think, all of the info over here. I've checked that I think it is legit. I have kind of gotten a general idea of the article, and I found my 2 quotes that I want to use. So that is the video for today. I hope this is helpful. As a fun fact, please know that I am doing the exact same homework that all of you are doing. So I am going to be doing this with you. So if you have questions about how to do this, I think, or if you're stuck, just reach out for help. I'm always here to help. And again, good luck on your projects. Thank you for watching. Bye.